In order to understand how those apparent blind spots happen to us good-hearted people, let's think about how our amazing brains work. Our brains start with about 100 billion neurons. When we are born, it is estimated that only about 17 to 20% of these brain cells are already connected. But the rest of the neurons become connected, wired together, as we grow and respond to our environments. These connections, if used regularly, become pathways for thinking. And if these pathways are not used regularly, they are later shed. These pathways, called axons, are built as messages from our eyes and our ears flow to various parts of our brains to alert us to what we just saw or heard. The dendrites, the neurons' listening posts, pick up the messages and send them to an axon that carries the message to an action place in the body, such as our leg muscles to start running if we sense danger, or our hands to reach for our wallet to buy something we like in a store. If we have seen certain sights and heard particular sounds many times before, the pathways, the axons between the neurons, become very strong. As David Hibb, a neuropsychologist, says, the neurons that fire together wire together. Look at the strong pathway labeled A. That same message from the ear or the eye has traveled that axon many times. We can guess that the decision-making part of the brain knows just where to send that information and what to do with it. For example, we hear a fire alarm and are on our feet and moving before anyone shouts fire. Our children see a certain exasperated expression on our faces and know that it's time to stop begging for now. But look at pathway B. If the message is sent only one time, or if the message is unfamiliar, there is only a weak pathway or none at all, and the information may not stick. The exception occurs when there's a big emotion surrounding an event. Everyone older than 5 or 6 on September 11th, 2001, remembers where they were when the World Trade Center was attacked that day. High emotion makes a memory stick. Otherwise, the message we see or hear only once tends to fade. And that's why learning new habits always takes practice.
Let's think about the parents of Jeff, Samantha, and Tina Goodhart. They feel the pressure from the usual messages to buy, to do, to give that come from everywhere. These messages take different forms. For example, the neighbors have the newest and the best of everything and brag about their possessions to this Goodhart family, pressuring them to provide the same. All Jeff's friends, or so he says, go somewhere fun on spring break. None of Samantha's friends have to do chores. And then there's Grandpa Goodhart. Without asking the parents, he bought a TV for 3-year-old Tina to watch in her room. She was ecstatic. Mother Goodhart wasn't so sure, but she went along because she didn't want to hurt Grandpa Goodhart's feelings.
Marketers know that parents want their children to learn, so the toys with an educational label will sell well. This is called the educational halo. Still, other ads are deliberately designed to bypass the thinking brain and go straight to the emotions. Ad developers run a group of ads past a group of potential buyers who are hooked up to electronic devices that read brain activity. And then they can select ads that bypass the thinking part of the brain, the one that says, do I need this now? And go directly to the emotional brain, where it says, I want this now. It's easy for parents to miss the difference or to forget that children and teens' brains are more tuned to the emotional brain than to thinking.
The gingerbread man keeps running by, spewing his messages everywhere. I can't ignore him if I try. Wherever I look, he's there.
The pressures to overindulge our children are everywhere. Some we notice, while others just slide under our radar. Now let's look at how a Strong Heart family handles messages to overindulge. The parents are intentionally learning to become aware both of direct and indirect pressures to buy too much, to do too much, or to give too much to their children.
Grandma Strongheart wisely chose to work on only one pressure at a time. She has heard that children are exposed to hundreds of buy messages a day on TV, billboards, the internet, backpacks, and other kids' t-shirts. Studies show that by the time a child is 3 years old, he or she can recognize an average of 100 brand logos. As a result, Grandma Strongheart decided to learn about brand name loyalty. She knows that adults may prefer a certain brand of clothing because it fits well or wears well, but adults may not notice pressures to develop brand loyalty in children. Those pressures do not feature messages about a brand making your life better, but messages that you will be not okay if you don't have it. That hits on self-image stuff. Grandma Strongheart's first lesson came when she shopped for sleepwear for 8-year-old Clarissa. Gran looked at 3 stores before she found a garment that didn't sport photos of a celebrity or of cool people doing cool things, along with a brand logo sewn or imprinted on the outside. The nightie was all pink with red roses and ruffles. When Clarissa opened the wrapped and ribboned present, Gran watched carefully. To her surprise, Clarissa looked quickly at the label and remarked softly, "I like this brand." Only then did she hold up the garment to see how it looked. No big deal for Clarissa. It only took a moment for her to pass judgment on the nightie because the message that it was a cool brand was already programmed into her brain. When Clarissa left to try on the nightie, Grandma Strongheart asked Grandpa and both parents if they had noticed that Clarissa looked at the label before she even held up the garment to look at it. They each said, "No, she didn't do that."
That behavior had passed right through the unaware parts of the brain. Why? Because adults usually develop brand name loyal for practical reasons, such as fit or style or quality. They haven't yet deliberately programmed their brains to notice brand name behavior in their children, where certain brand names tell them they will be okay, will be accepted by their peers if they buy this product. It's a matter of brain wiring. These parents may not have known what brand their own jammies were at age 8, and if no one cared, they didn't have any childhood brain wiring to notice brand names or to care about brand name loyalty. As a result, these parents didn't see Clarissa's quick check for the brand name.